So I kind of jumped the gun yesterday when I kind of threw Bill Barr under the bus. Okay, this was the story that I had up. I think it was in the Wisconsin and Arizona recap. And this was the first thing that popped up. Okay, no evidence of widespread voter fraud based on an Associated Press article. And I've got that very article pulled up. It is full of horseshit. Plain and simply, this article sucks a fat dick. It does all of those things that I rail against the media for, and to be fair, I should have went in and totally read it myself instead of taking a neocon's perspective on it, because they just want everything to return back to normal, and they just want to go ahead and stupidly run Marco Rubio in 2024 and return back to normal because, having a George W. Bush in the White House would be so much better than just having to deal with another 4 years of Donald Trump. So let's go ahead and walk through this article, the source material, because that'll let you guys know that AP doesn't even believe what AP is writing. Disputing Trump, Barr says no widespread election fraud. Okay, if you were to just figure this out and go with the headline, you are not getting any of the story that they've actually written. Disputing President Donald Trump's persistent baseless claims, Attorney General Bill Barr declared Thursday the U.S. Justice Department has uncovered no evidence of widespread voter fraud that could change the outcome of the 2020 election. Oh, so there is evidence, but there's no widespread election fraud. Why did you stop the quote there? Uh-oh. Does it get worse from there? Of course it gets worse from there. The bulk of this is just reiterating different stances from both sides of the aisles, where Chuck Schumer is just over there with his fucking pom-poms and his terrible posture, just going, oh, I guess I'll just be the next person fired. Ha 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 ha. Meanwhile, yeah, he's trying to push Joe Biden's potential cabinet appointees to be confirmed by the Senate a couple months before they'd even need to be in there. And if we actually end up following through on a bunch of these trails, they won't be needed. So why would somebody who's so concerned about wanting to officially confirm cabinet appointees just think that there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud and all of this is just for naught? Why would they be trying to push something through so quickly? It's almost like they know the jig is very, very close to being up, and they're going to be caught with their pants down on this one. I don't know. Just a little speculating here. Well, let's, finish this fucking piece of shit article. There's a growing tendency to use the criminal justice system as a sort of default fix-all, he said, in regards to Bill Barr here. Most claims of fraud are very particularized to a particular set of circumstances or actors or conduct, edited by AP here, and those have been run down and they're being run down. Barr said there have been some broad and potentially cover a few thousand votes. They have been followed up on. So the investigation is still going on. And may I jog your guys' memory that Arizona is only separated by 11,000 votes. Wisconsin is only separated by 20,000 votes. Georgia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, all of those by a couple 10,000 votes. Potentially covers a few thousand votes, eh? I would say that that is an instance of, considerable concern for the Department of Justice because, well, we were supposed to look over these free and fair elections. So no, what did they try to do? They tried to cause a big stir based on nothing, based on false reporting, and quite frankly, yellow journalism. And I admit, I read a secondhand account, took it as gospel, and that's the last time I'll be standing up for the Daily Wire on that one. Fuck. I should have done my homework. They should have done their homework. And after Bill Barr and his team seen what the fuck AP wrote and all the stink that they were causing, yeah, so a DOJ spokesperson reached out to stupid CBS. Some media outlets have incorrectly reported the department has concluded its investigation of election fraud and announced an affirmative finding that no fraud in the election. That is not what the Associated Press reported, nor what Attorney General stated. There we go. The department will continue to receive and vigorously pursue all specific and credible allegations of fraud as expeditiously as possible. Yeah, so as you can see, the Associated Press, apparently the gold standard of reporting, can go ahead and put out their phony little clickbait story, go ahead and make a bunch of stink about it, and not even bother to retract it afterwards because, hey, we already got the bag. We already made our point loud and clear, and we can go ahead and put out a retraction in a couple days' time. And, hey, you know what? We still get all the clicks from that first article, and then we'll get another set of clicks from that second batch of people who actually will take the time to figure out if this was redacted properly or not. I, for one, will tell the Associated Press to fuck off. So let's have a little bit more of a concise breakdown of what those couple of tweets mean. Barr reportedly clarified in the AP interview that there is no difference between systemic allegations of federal criminal system would handle and allegations that state or local officials would address via audits. There's a growing tendency to use some criminal justice system as a sort of fix-all. That's what I read there. And people don't like something, they want the Justice Department to come in and investigate, he said. Most claims of fraud are very particularized in the particular set of circumstances or actors or they conduct. They are not systemic allegations, and those have been run down. They are being run down, he added. Some have been broad and potentially cover a few thousand votes. They have been followed up on, obviously. They added they would continue to pursue the truth through the judicial system and state legislatures and continue towards a constitutional mandate and ensuring that every illegal vote is counted and every illegal vote is not. Again, with the greatest respect to the Attorney General, his opinions appear to be without any knowledge of the investigation or substantial irregularities and evidence of the systemic fraud, Giuliani and Jenna Ellis said in regards to the Associated Press article. To be completely fair, nobody has all of the information that Giuliani and Jen Ellis have. They are putting together their court cases. We don't know everything that they have. We have testimonies from a couple of people who have signed the affidavits. Dozens. It's not fair to say that it's just a couple of people. Dozens of people so far have come forward in these different hearings and have pled their case, stated their evidence, and we don't know what else is being held back because that's not how building a case works. Jesus Christ, it might take a little bit longer than a few days, so people need to kind of calm down at this point. Once these things actually get pursued in the courtroom instead of just being tossed out for a bunch of goofy shit. So if it ends up being held at the state level or at the Supreme Court of the United States level, we'll figure out what they have. We'll see if there's anything to these claims. I tend to think that there is based on what we know right now, but that is merely a fraction of it. This is more or less an iceberg type situation where what we see on top right now is all the stuff that is easy for the public to digest, and what we'll find afterwards is that there is, well, something to these expert testimonies and these signed affidavits. But since we brought up the Supreme Court, we might as well see what the one dude who has been very vocal in his support for Trump so far. Not the only one. Hawley's done a fair amount as well. Representative Matt Gaetz has been very vocal as well, and Rand Paul as well. You know what, regardless of how this election turns out, you guys need to kind of keep a running tally of the names in your head. And if there are any sort of rhino in your specific constituency who just wants people to put their head down and just, oh, we'll regroup in the future. There's nothing to this. It looks like everything was just super valid because, you know, Biden is the first president who will ever get 80 million votes to his name. He's just so goddamn popular. You guys remember those drive-in events, man? All of those vehicles there, man, they definitely just weren't stage vehicles, and nobody was definitely not in them on election night. I remember. You remember? Exactly. Let's see what old Teddy Boy's up to. Presses Supreme Court to hear emergency appeal on Pennsylvania election challenge. So we got to circle back around there to Pennsylvania, because, like I said before, they are, by they, I mean the Pennsylvania State Legislature, they're just not going to meet before the end of the year again. They're just going to fucking call it a year. Hey, put 2020 behind you. It doesn't matter if we're going to have an emergency vote to figure anything out because, hey, Tom Wolf called it a year, so fuck it. We need a supermajority in order to reconvene before the next stated time that we're all going to get together. So looks like Ted seen that, called shenanigans on it, and wants it to go up to the Supreme Court. See if they're actually around to make rulings on this. You know, a couple of those guys are really just chomping at the bit to see something come of this fucking ridiculous election. Senator Ted Cruz on Tuesday asked the Supreme Court to hear an emergency appeal challenging the election results in Pennsylvania, contending that hearing the appeal would be an important step in helping rebuild confidence in the integrity of our democratic system. Because I think right now, I know it's like 75% of Republicans think that the election was a little fucked up, and then a quarter to about 30% of Democrats think the exact same way. So there is about, give or take, 90, 100 million people who think that there was something real fucked up about this election. Don't you think that 100 million voters kind of should have a little bit of a say, and this isn't just time to put your head so deep into the sand. You have a conversation with the people who ended up funding some of this election shit. I'm talking about you, China. Today, an emergency appeal was filed in the United States Supreme Court challenging the election results in Pennsylvania. This appeal raises serious legal concerns, and I believe the court should hear the case on the expedited basis, said Teddy Cruz in a Tuesday statement. The lawsuit is at the center of the controversy, led by Representative Mike Kelly and Republican congressional candidate, war hero Sean Parnell, questions the constitutionality of mail-in voting in the state, specifically Pennsylvania Act 77, which a state circuit judge thought was unconstitutional, but he or she was getting cold feet. And it's like, I don't really want to disenfranchise a bunch of people who, probably wanted to cast their legal ballots and should be able to, but Act 77 is unconstitutional, so I don't fucking quite know what to do, and it looks like the Trump team probably has legal standing on this one, but some smooth brains out there think that it's probably fine, especially their Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Well, we believe that Act 77 is certainly a state issue. We believe that there are very important federal questions nested within it, Sean Parnell told KDKA, local radio station, I suppose. So what we're doing here is looking to appeal to the Supreme Court for those federal questions, he added. Absolutely, because it involved a presidential election, which tends to be a matter of federal concern. I don't know. I didn't get my PhD in poli-sci. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court dismissed the lawsuit last week, saying the underlying lawsuit was filed months after the law allowed the challengers to Pennsylvania's expensive year-old mail-in voting law. Listen, it's not legal. You already did it. What do you want us to do about it? Nothing. However, Cruz believes the Supreme Court should hear the case. Yeah. 20 electoral votes is nothing quite to shake your dick at here. The Pennsylvania Constitution requires in-person voting except in narrow and defined circumstances late last year in October, by the way. The Pennsylvania legislature, it was on Halloween actually, now that I remember. Pennsylvania legislature passed a law that purported to allow universal mail-in voting, notwithstanding the Pennsylvania Constitution's expressed prohibition. And they didn't have a second hearing on it. And they didn't properly advertise it so the people could vote on it. And it never went to a public referendum. They missed a bunch of steps, but they got away with it, so you shouldn't be able to prosecute them for it. Fuck off. This appeal argues the Pennsylvania cannot change the rules in the middle of the game. Yeah, exactly. If Pennsylvania wants to change how voting occurs, the state must follow the laws to do so. Just outline that. That illegality was compounding by partisan Democrat Supreme Court in Pennsylvania, who voted, I think it was 5-0 or 3 to, I think it was 5-0, which has issued multiple decisions that reflect their political and ideological biases. Cruz noted that Justices Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch, all Republican appointees, by the way, recently indicated that there is a strong likelihood that the state Supreme Court decision violates the federal Constitution. Ooh! His statement concluded, and that's where I'll wrap up. In the current appeal, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court dismissed the claim based on a legal doctrine that called latches, which essentially mean the plaintiffs waited too long to bring the challenge, but the plaintiffs reasonably argued that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has not allowed the doctrines consistently, and so they cannot selectively enforce it now. Oh, that sucks. Even more persuasively, the plaintiffs point out that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has also held that the plaintiffs did or don't have standing to challenge the election law until after the election. Interesting, meaning that the court effectively put them in a catch-22. Before the election, they lacked standing. After the election, they delayed too long. I think that what a lot of good lawyers out there on YouTube or on Twitter kind of pointed out. It's like, okay, we can't sue for something that hasn't happened yet. We can't sue for it during, but when we can actually sue for it, you think that we waited too long because standing? The result of the court's gamemanship is that a facially unconstitutional election law can never be judicially challenged. Ordinarily, the United States Supreme Court would stay out of election disputes, especially concerning state law. But these are not ordinary times. Well, yeah. You had a governor who rammed through an unconstitutional law. You had a Supreme Court that just wants to sit on its hands and thumb each other's asses. So it kind of falls to the only guy who's left in charge. Well, the only set of 9 people who are left in charge. 3 of them are female, after all. So I hope the Supreme Court does something on this. they do have precedent of overriding state Supreme Courts. Going to have to evoke the ghost of election 2000, where Florida Supreme Court was going to allow Al Gore to recount 3 specific counties for him, which he kind of figured would find more votes. But then when the Supreme Court heard about that, they said, no, fuck it, we'll just go ahead and recount the entire state. And then Al Gore was like, no, that's cool. Just go and make a climate documentary. So yeah, long and short of the video, don't trust the headlines that you read. Read the body of the article. Well, read all the paragraphs in the article. How about that one? And perhaps wait a couple of days. And also, we're going to see the Supreme Court and if they're totally full of shit. Because, well, we know Alito, Thomas, and Gorsuch are on the level. We'll see Barrett, Kavanaugh, and I can't even in good conscience put John Roberts in that category. So Alito was the guy who personally intervened to say, hey, stop counting those mail-in ballots. But I guess they all had their Eagles toques on and couldn't really hear that edict because they just went ahead and counted those provisional ballots all in the same because all votes are legal, right? So yeah, let's not be too hard on Barr because he's still kind of doing good work out there, even though the media is trying to report that he isn't and also trying to say that he is because it falls in line with what they're doing and the Supreme Court is doing something. It's all fucking goofy right now. So what we know, DOJ is still working on shit because they're still getting information, and Supreme Court's going to be stepping in real soon. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.